I hadn't seen this since I saw it in the theater right when it came out, because I mean at the time, like, whoa, John Sayles and like every rising guy star in Hollywood. I don't remember this movie. I don't know what the word mannered. It's a lot of baseball.
Incoherent?
No, there's nothing incoherent about it.
No, it's not incoherent.
There's nothing incoherent. It's a lot of baseball. It's a lot of guys running around playing baseball. I think, like, oh yeah, that's right, Studs Terkel, who's like playing some kind of weird caricature of Studs Terkel.
Yeah,
like there's
John Fullerton was a real person. These are all real.
I know. This movie seems to be full of caricatures, although I just know it is full of real people. But I mean,
I still think you can't have DB Sweeney and John Cusack in the same movie. They look exactly the same.
They're great.
No, it's a joke. I love Cusack, DB Sweeney, whatever. I could take or leave, but I think they they look so much alike.
All right. While we're on the subject, you get this many white guys and give them old timey haircuts and put a fucking a dozen of them in baseball uniforms. And then the rest of them are in suits. I mean, I'm a little face blind. I've realized
that's this podcast.
Also, weird
what
thing
are you
is like
that's literally us.
These guys against the people.
Sometimes
there's some age range here. There's some age range here, at least.
Like a picture of DB Sweeney and Joe Jackson, or like Buck Weaver and like John Cusack. The film's problem might be the actors are way too handsome. Those
they're
well,
better looking than the original.
That's Hollywood.
I guess so. But this was definitely telling. I think that Sayles got involved in the real story of the Black Sox scandal, and it's kind of like look at like a very much.
Studs Terkel was like 7 or 8 when this happened too, so like he remembers it.
Oh my god, that's really something.
Also, I saw that picture of who posted that John Sayles looked exactly like the dude.
He looks exactly like him.
Spooky.
Yeah, that is weird.
The guy who played tennis on Mount Landis was a dead ringer. I mean,
both of them.
They look exactly.
That's a commissioner.
Yeah, no,
commissioner
they hired.
But they were a little like
John Anderson looks exactly
a
like
bad
tennis
Greek
on
chorus.
Yeah.
And,
although I'll give you one thing that I think was kind of like watching it again didn't quite ring true was the whole kid connection. Having that little that thread with
but like everything else in this movie, I think nothing was handled with any care.
You're talking about John Sayles here, dude. Are you really
to the point?
You're gonna qualify that?
Yes, I've seen Sayles. My biggest exposure to Sayles, of course, was Lone Star when I was pretty young.
Yep. There's a lot of
growing up.
That bent my brain.
But I thought this didn't. I don't know. I couldn't get involved in this.
I don't know. To me, Lone Star is kind of a bumpy ride too, and it's kind of very much in this vein of it's like all the elements are good for a good movie, but it's never.
Okay, I agree with
delivered.
I agree with John. I watched Lone Star. I was very young, but I was really getting into film, and everybody in Lone Star, the critical acclaim Lone Star received. It was like everyone was like, watch this motherfucking movie. And so I was like, and my friend and I sat down, we watched it, and I was like, okay.
Right.
Like the acting's good. I don't know.
It's a bit of advice.
I think I agree with John. It's like with this, like these movies are more impressions of movies than they are actual good movies. It's like you should love this movie, but why?
I think Michael Lerner is so good, and like John Mahoney is so.
I am
good.
always happy to see John Mahoney.
Right,
always.
And Charlie Sheen is.
This is not a bad cast. I'm not saying that.
And again, we have.
He's good.
David Strathairn.
He's great.
Him and the guy
always good. I've never seen a performance I don't like from him.
Occasionally, the filmmaking and the direction clicks. It's like that whole scene in about the middle of the movie where they're going up and down the hallways of the hotel and all the stuff's happening.
Oh, that's so good.
I also think,
I was sitting forward. I was going,
but for
someone, now it's getting good.
But for someone like Sayles, who I think was a bit avant-garde, even though he's working a lot in the mainstream, why does this look like this? Just looks like Ron Howard would make a movie like this. Like,
yeah, but Ron Howard also makes really good movies.
Sometimes he does.
Apollo 13.
Yes,
I think Jared's just saying it looks like mainstream Hollywood, and
it looks too perfect.
This is probably John Sayles' most mainstream film.
For sure. For sure it is.
This
It's
is
his biggest
big-time
budget.
picture.
biggest budget.
He spent so long working on trying to get this made that him and David Strathairn and Michael Sheen aged out of the characters
Yes.
that they cast.
They
were originally going to play.
They did a good job of making David look a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Because
but
you could tell he was.
But Strathairn was supposed to play Happy Edwards, and Martin Sheen was going to play Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Oh.
And it was just like, no, we can't do this anymore. And so they hired Charlie Sheen to play Happy Edwards. And
Although it was kind
And
of
Strathairn's character was supposed to be sort of aging out of the profession.
yeah, he's 30.
My arm's
he's
10 years old.
He's 38, 39 years old in this. And that's one thing I want to mention is that it's not something that they bring up in the movie, but like the scene where the two sports writers are up in the press box and they're like, oh, how and they're like circling the people who
you keep your scorecard, I'll keep a scorecard.
Circle the plays that look iffy to you. Yeah.
And I want to mention one baseball thing real quick, which is like, so this is a baseball, right?
Right.
So you pitch a baseball.
That's a what? What is that?
It's like a football but smaller.
Less pointy.
Go Sports.
You pitch a baseball normally like this, like you do a 2-seam, a 4-seam, a slider.
You look at your fingers on the seam so you know where the ball's going to drop.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is supposed to be somebody who throws a knuckleball. And a knuckleball is a really interesting thing because you're not putting a spin on the ball. The whole thing is like you have the tips of your fingers on it and you're pushing it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's throwing the game because he can't pitch knuckleballs to these people and they're hitting the ball. And it's like, but literally, if your fingernail is too long, and this is 1919, like this is not modern.
And it's the old loose baseball too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you just put the slightest little bit of rotation on the ball because you didn't hold it right or your fingernail was a little too long, you've just thrown a 58-mile-an-hour fastball to one of the best baseball players in the world. Like it's just so weird to me that these guys are immediately like, they're cheating, you know? And it's like, no, that's just shit goes wrong sometimes. Like,
I guess they saw enough of it and cumulatively know there was like bad fielding and bad pitching to know there was something funny going on with it.
Some of it's really obvious, like Charlie Sheen obviously dropping the ball,
when he tries to catch it like this, and it just comes right out
or not throwing to the cutoff guy,
or suddenly slowing down when you're running to a base and stopping for a second.
The rest of that is fine. It's just I wanted to specifically call out the pitching part where it's like,
I like that it showed how the shine ball worked though. They had that little patch on the
it's rubbing on
rubbing on there. It's like that's not legal anymore, is it?
No. They specifically call that out. It's like we're not going to allow the shine ball or spitball anymore.
Right.
It's like, oh fuck.
Speaking of it being sort of mannered, did anybody else have to put the subtitles on? Because I did about 15 minutes in.
I always do that.
Much happier.
No, I just wished I could have turned off the music on both.
Yeah,
of these
no
movies.
shit.
Well,
I hate movies about this time period because there's so much of that.
It's just big band. It's just big band fucking bullshit. The whole time.
It's actually authentic to the period, man.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But again, so fucking obvious.
Like
honestly, I wish that fucking Sofia Coppola would have directed this, and maybe Joy Division would have done the soundtrack.
If it was if Ragtime's Nails on Chalkboard, you have not have enough breadth of American musical history. I am sorry.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
You're bringing up the point I was trying to make. I think the thing that I
actually don't mind the music, and also shut the fuck up.
All right, okay.
Oh, it's gross. The music in the next film is even worse. But let's go.
The point I was trying to make is, I think you called this
sexy jazz. Anyway, let's go.
Shut the fuck up. Your gambling double feature.
Yeah.
There's something else I think that more in common with these two movies is they're both, at least stylistically,
movies about idiots.
They're throwbacks to other decades of movie making. Like this movie is constantly referencing old movies without hanging a lantern on it. In the same, very much the same way that The Cooler feels like some cheesy 80s movie most of the time.
Save that for later.
Without hanging a lantern on it.
Right.
At times, I found it really great. The other movie, I found it more grating than this one. It's just that he's trying to find this middle ground between making a movie in the 80s, but telling a story with all the music, the mannerisms, the acting, the line delivery of a movie made many decades earlier.
Well, even these baseball players were not dirty in this movie.
You can actually say that this film,
Yes, they should have been dirtier.
8 Men Out is kind of
These people, all their uniforms looked freshly pressed every goddamn scene.
Which again, one of the reasons they're called the Black Sox is because Comiskey didn't pay to clean their uniforms, so they had to wash them themselves. Like
that guy behind us looked too clean, but either way,
I find it fascinating that Comiskey still has a baseball park named after him,
for many years, might I add. So,
but I guess I like this movie more than just about any of you guys. I
picked it. I like it.
Oh no, Chris, I love this movie.
No, it's got flaws, but I found it. I mean, I don't even really like sports all that much, but what I liked was you totally understand where everybody's coming from.
This isn't a sports movie.
Why they did.
It's not really a sports. It's not a sports movie at all. This is a
movie that's about sports.
Yeah, this film's a
morality. It's not about sports. There's just a lot of sports in it.
It takes place in a sports world.
It's a movie about people who are getting fucked over by their boss who decide to just be like, fuck you, I'm gonna get the money and get out.
In sports.
Yes. In sports.
The whole thing is a very nuanced morality play. It's about where people are going to finally give up and sell out. You know,
I do want to point out that the shot
so incredibly, I just feel like it's a hodgepodge, though. His filmmaking style in this and other movies, it's like a hodgepodge. Okay. He doesn't know how to fucking edit. Or whoever edited, they don't know how to like congeal it together to actually make a fucking presentable fucking movie, dude.
I disagree.
It took me a while. It took me a while to get into it because of those things.
And I don't want, and trust me, I don't want formula garbage. I'm not that guy. You guys know I'm not that guy, but I have to take issue with the presentation of this overall picture.
Let me go back to what Chris said about this being kind of like referring to a lot of older films. This is
I want you to go back to that because I want to know what he means.
The thing is, imagine, you ever see Pride of the Yankees, the one about Lou Gehrig?
Yes.
This is like an evil version of Pride of the Yankees.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm going.
It's got a lot of old-fashioned tropes in it. It's kind of very much a feel-good story with little kids in it, and everyone's like that kind of thing. But it's also showing you this what's underneath the things you think are cool,
the seamy side of it.
I imagine
this torpedo here in this scene. Wow.
Hold on. Oh, okay.
That was
stop.
Right.
We have to get to the point where we talk about that, where this guy shows up and he's like, if you don't throw the game, I'm gonna kill your wife.
Yeah.
That not only did that not happen.
Oh, okay.
Specifically, the guy who wrote the novel put that in, so if anyone plagiarized his story,
nice.
He would
that
know.
was that. Yeah,
that was a poison pill. That was a
fake street in the atlas for him to.
So the teachers you plagiarized this,
right?
Oh,
so
interesting.
Everyone would know that it was plagiarized because that didn't happen. He made it up, which I just think is amazing. Like it's just like, this got all the way through.
Wait, how do you know that? How do you know that?
Really
that is a fun fact.
He said it.
Who said it?
The author. The author of the book.
So did Sayles know when he was making the film that he was putting in the fake scene?
I have no idea.
He might have just said, that works.
I feel like Sayles would know that and do it on purpose.
Drama. That was actually kind of like
what year? What year did the guy write this book?
Oh God, like 1953 or something like that.
And it does kind of notch the Jeopardy up a hair for dramatic.
As a filmmaking thing, it works. It may not have been real, but it works. And also,
I don't think Buck Weaver was even dead when he wrote.
When the little kid said "Saint ain't Sojo" at the end, at the coming out of the court steps,
which is another thing that
never happened either. That never historically never happened.
Also, and since that's the line that we all know from this scandal, it's famous.
Right.
I thought
it is famous.
It was particularly clumsy.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Right?
Yeah. It was actually written by a sports writer. It wasn't about some kid.
Well,
that's a good writer. That's a good writer.
Yeah, because what he actually said was something like, "So did you do it, Joe or something like that.
Right, but he's
and-
like, I'm gonna make it rhyme, bitch, and it's gonna
Right,
sound
right. Say it
awesome.
ain't so, Joe.
That plays out
I
the
was
little
just-
kid arc that goes through the whole thing where they're like,
It
Which
does.
is-
However, it's
Jared,
clumsy.
which is why I said it to you in the chat.
It's
Yeah.
clumsy. All the reporters are yelling at him, and all of a sudden they all stop, and the kid says, "Say it ain't so,
Yeah.
Joe." And I'm just like, man,
that's the thing. And
Yeah,
rewatching it, I thought that
stupid.
was
But-
kind of clunky.
But hold on, isn't that exactly the way it would play out in a movie made in the 40s?
I guess you're
That's
right.
the thing. Going back to the whole Pride of the Yankees thing, or
But this
Yeah,
ain't the
da, da, da,
40s.
da.
I understand that there was probably limited reference material of how these people actually spoke. I'm guessing there's not.
But you don't have to. But this is the 80s. You don't have to have any. You could make this movie any way you fucking want. You
I
could
think
make it.
there were two
Right.
ways. There were two ways of making this movie. Right, one would have been super dry. This is the
No,
thing.
no. I think you're wrong. You could make this movie 1,000
No.
different ways.
He chose to make this movie in this sort of weird. I like to dunk on the old timey movie thing all the time when we do the show. This feels like it's almost trying to like play out like an old timey movie. The only thing it wasn't was in black and white.
Right.
I
which
don't
maybe he
know.
should have done.
The music and the line deliveries and the editing and the sort of bouncy nature of a lot of the scenes.
I think actually John got caught up in sort of American cinema in the 80s when maybe he really did want to tell the story and he loved it. I think he was maybe too influenced because there was so much
Remember,
money
this
and
came
so
out-
many
this was
stars.
Remember, this was the summer of Shoeless Joe Jackson. Field of Dreams came out like right around the same
Right,
time.
right,
Now
right.
that's a
So I
baseball-
think
That's
so.
an 80s movie.
Well, that makes my
Right.
point even more. I mean, maybe he was feeling so much pressure to do, what he thought was sort of a mainstream thing, to appease or to sort of get the biggest audience possible.
like all filmmakers.
Well, I mean, why would
I don't know. I don't agree with that actually. I don't think every filmmaker does that.
Okay, that's a new one.
I mean, there's that quote from Denis Villeneuve who's like, I think I made this movie for one person, and that person is me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that,
He's sleeping on a giant pile of money.
well, because he's a good filmmaker, but
But-
I don't think that everyone makes a movie
No, I think
for everyone.
I think this film was a passion project. I think he did it because he really wanted to tell the story. If it came
I'm
out-
just
Again,
posing
he
questions.
spent
I don't have
long- he
answers.
spent
I'm just
so
posing
long
questions.
that he spent so long that the characters aged out of their
Yeah, like I said,
characters.
it's like
Yeah,
Like,
so maybe I'm just
Sounds like
posing
he
questions.
made the movie that he wanted to make.
now the thing that came away from this when I watched it again, it was like I said, the arc with the kids is kind of dumb. But one of the things I'm watching it and knowing what's happening in sports now in 2023 is that we're going to see this in probably less than 5 years.
No, we're not.
We are.
We're not because the Astros cheated their way to a World Series. And
So it's
everyone
happening
has
now.
Forgotten it by now.
Yeah.
Like it's no.
What are you saying? You're saying
There's
so
never
out-
going to be another Buck Weaver. There's
Yeah.
never going to be another person who was innocent in a scandal like this who gets expelled from the sport. Like it
Was that the Cusack character?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buck Weaver was absolutely innocent. He just didn't go and say this was happening.
Mhm.
And he spent every year for the rest of his life trying to get reinstated into baseball, and they didn't let him. Like
And that to me was like again that last scene.
that's the heartbreaking. Yes,
Yeah.
the
that
heartbreaking part.
scene.
That was tough.
Oh, he's just
Oh my
he's just some
god, this
bum-
movie
he's
has
just
no
some
heart
bum
to
from
me, so I couldn't
Chicago.
have one be broken.
For me, it stuck the landing with this scene.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just some bum from Chicago,
No.
and
And
we're
I guess
done.
and I guess that's where I come out on this movie is that although it took me a while because of all the things we've discussed here, the mannerisms, the manner delivery of the story and all the rest of it, it took me 20-30 minutes to kind of get into it and get to penetrate the barrier that it was putting up. And by the end of the movie, I was very much involved and invested, and I was really invested in John Cusack's character in particular. And
It's
his
because he's a
story.
good actor.
And because he's a sympathetic character.
DB
I mean, when you
Sweeney's a
see him
good
out on
actor
the
too.
field,
Fuck you.
DB Sweeney is not a good actor.
and when
Yes,
he's
he is.
out on
Fuck
the
you.
field and he's just playing his heart out, just trying to basically carry the whole fucking team,
Right.
you're like, yeah, man.
Well,
Do
and,
it,
in,
do it.
and in the court case when he's like, I hit 327 in the World Series. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what are you saying here? Like, I didn't play, I didn't try,
Right.
and he didn't. He hit 324. but besides that, like it's like he, yes, absolutely did. Like he went out there and did his best.
How do you do that knowing that everybody around you is
Everyone around you's
Also,
giving it up.
DB Sweeney, I mean,
You could do that. It's called fucking
Shoeless Joe is
personal
like,
drive.
He's an object of pity because he's illiterate.
Yeah.
He's illiterate.
And he doesn't. He's kind of like going with.
All the scenes where his wife is reading
I know.
the newspaper articles to him, like it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, and the thing is that
I just want to punch DB Sweeney in the face.
Not uncommon.
Yeah, we know, Jared, but like other people who are normal.
If DB Sweeney is a good actor, let's look at the career trajectory between John Cusack and DB Sweeney, and you tell me who's the better fucking
in the
actor.
same place now.
Well,
Now they are, but let's look at their fucking actual careers.
Text me when this is over.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you tell me he's a good actor.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Let's just wrap it up. All right.
I admire this movie a lot. I enjoy most of it.
It wasn't as fantastic. I remember it to be. It's still really, really good, and it's
good.
It says something about that kind of like how things can be corrupted so thoroughly. And although you know, Tad disagrees, he thinks with this kind of thing can't come along like this. I think it can. It's FanDuel, you know, like those guys are just waiting to start throwing games. You know,
we're gonna have a whole other conversation about this in 5 years.